All right, you are now tuned into the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Goose, Heck, Gabe, Angelo. The entire crew is here. The year of great prosperity. In this episode, the crew covers topics that range from 2023 goals, maintaining focus, making adjustments, future predictions, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from George Herbert and Norman Vincent Peale. Speaking of Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positivity. I highly recommend that book. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off. Gentlemen.
What's up?
You made it to 2023. Some said we were never going to make it this far. We did, though. 2023, the year of great prosperity. We're going to talk about claiming it. To prosper in all aspects of life. Mentally, physically, financially, relationally, and spiritually. So when you think of 2023, is it like a thought of finally we got through the I guess the height of the pandemic, a ton of unknowns of whatever 2020 was into 2021. We cleared things out in 2022, and I feel like 2023 we're getting back on the grind. You're not gonna play us with nothing. No pump fakes over here. Nope, not having it type deal, right? Like that's what I feel like it is. I don't know, but. I think we grew a lot in the last couple of years, no matter who you were, where you were in life. I think everybody as a whole, like collectively, we grew. I think you had to. I don't even think there was options to that, but it forced people to, reflect a lot, because what happens is not necessarily just in solitude, but what happens when you're just forced to stay home or forced to not do any recreational things, what have you. You start to think, and TV gets old real fast, and phone just like, oh man, it's all the same stuff, whatever. And you start having conversations or going back to the old things and just maybe looking at pictures, whatever. It's definitely a time to reflect and some growth. And then you start challenging yourself, because honestly, it's probably, I don't know what you would call it. What would you call it when it was just like, I don't know if it was like a divine intervention, or I just felt like as a whole, there was a shift that happened. And whether that was, within our souls, within our hearts, minds, whatever, people started, just dealing with life differently, I guess is the best way to put it. Some people better, some people worse, I don't know. But I feel like 2023 is now it's time to kind of like, okay, you know what I mean? It's like a couple setbacks. You held us on pause for a little bit. It's time to hit the start button again. I was just talking about getting Nintendo when I was 5 years old. Yeah. And the controllers were so simple, right?
Like
several buttons, a couple arrows, you know what I mean? Super simple. The games were simple, right? And I think that's what it is. It's just like, we said it last year, but I still think that we were still getting some residue from the previous year. But it's like back to the basics. Go back to working out again. Back to having conversations with your friends, reconnecting with people again, staying positive, doing away with the negativity. Surround yourself with things, people, events that are going to make you better. We started off real good with the boys. We went to like a local, whatever. I'm just going to say a local spot. Where we had great conversation over some cigars or whatever, and it was just a nice way to kick things off. And then afterwards, I think we were all reflecting. It was like, you know what? We got to do this more often, because we got away from that. A lot of this stuff sort of escaped us because of the chaotic events that were just taking place. There's just so many moving parts. You really didn't know what to do or how to handle it. As they say, it was unprecedented. But anyway, with all of that being said, I think it's time to sort of like reel it all back in, and everyone just starting fresh. And like, I think there were so many attempts to do it, to like, man, I got to get out of my own head or get out of my own way. I'm tripping myself. Now is the year to do it. And I feel there's like a new energy about it. I don't know what it is. I feel it within myself. I feel it within like conversations that I'm having inside of, work or family, friends, whatever. Again, I think we're taking it, everyone's just, I think, even if it's like a tiny little notch, I feel like everyone's stepping closer to enlightenment, another heightened level naturally. And Anyway, that's just my thoughts on 2023. Anyone else have any opening thoughts or what they think, any predictions they think is going to happen in 2023, even if it's for themselves?
Eagles win the Super Bowl.
Hey!
There it is.
That's a win. That's a positive.
Yeah, no, like Jim, like you said earlier, it's I think 2023 is going to bring a lot more people together because in the past few years with the madness going on, it divided people, their friends, family for the dumbest reasons.
Yeah.
And I just think all that stuff is kind of like over and beyond most of us. So I think 2023, it's like you're going to see more family gatherings. Everyone's going to be back together as they were 3-4 years ago. And I think this is the year that like everyone's going to reunite and kind of just get back to like family, like loving everyone before everyone's like, oh, they're not wearing a mask or they're vaccinated, they're this, they're that. People were just judging people on what was going on in present time.
Yeah.
And now that like that's kind of behind us, now it's like, oh yeah, how's everything going? Now everyone's hugging and kissing each other again, and it's like I think it's definitely this year's like that
back
unity.
to true normally.
Yeah, for sure,
Normalcy.
like that unity of friends, family, everyone, businesses, all kinds of everything.
Yeah.
And I like how you talked about the simplicity of it too.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the good things that came out of COVID was like appreciating and being grateful for your health now.
Yes.
Yes.
Like the little things, family time.
Yes.
Going out and actually talking to somebody out at the store. Like things we couldn't do. We didn't know what we were going to do back in COVID.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were just trying to survive. We were in survival mode. That
We're in
was it.
survival mode. We got hit with a million unknowns. We were like the shop itself, like many other businesses, forced to shut down. It was the first time we were dealing with these things, and it was an election year.
Yeah.
It was like there was so much divide in the country, in the
Yeah.
world at large, but specifically in the U.S., it was just like it was chaos. Is the only way I can actually describe
People
it.
just festering at home just bring out like the crazy animosity of
gosh.
everything.
It was like
Yeah, no, dude, but just sit there and-
social media abuse. It was everything was
Yeah.
just getting like taken to levels that was just it was ugly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so all right. I think to move on and talking about the simplicity and like, and I think not to say that people are quote over it. Obviously, you got to like keep your guard up and be smart about things, right? But I think to go back to the basics, the new year also brings almost like that refreshed mind, like you just got walked out the shower, like you just feel good, something about it, right? And a lot of times the majority of people set goals, or at least even if they don't say them out loud, they say little things in their head like, you know what, this year I'm going to try to buy my first house or buy my first car or start back up at school or start my little business, whatever. Everyone has these like little mini goals in the back of their head, or enter into the ring for the first time for combat sports. There's a bunch of stuff. I saw someone just post this yesterday, actually, which I'm very excited about. It's knowing what motivates you, right, and what your why is. And I know we're coming up on 7 years of the podcast. So back 7 years ago when we were talking about very basic personal development items, the number one topic that I would constantly talk about is motivation wears out. So you need to motivate yourself or know your why on a daily basis. It's just like deodorant. You got to reapply it, right? You got to take a shower, bro. Like, you smell good now, and it feels good and smells good now, but it's going to wear away as soon as you start hustling. So if you know your why and we revisit your why, and that's the only challenge I actually really have for everybody today is revisit your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you going to attack the goals that you're going to attack this year? What's the true reason? Because once you have that core why, the motivation is going to reactivate itself on a regular basis. And you could tap into that, look at your kid's eyes, look at a family member's eyes, look at old pictures when you were a little kid and can't believe how far you came. Like that, those types of things. Go back to the old school way we used to motivate each other. Even let go. One thing I did, because this year is going to be 20 years in May. It'll be 20 years I graduated high school, right? So I started listening to songs that came out in 2003, and it was just funny. It was like, how music puts you in a setting, like, and it's like, oh my gosh, I could remember a specific night, a specific era, whatever. But man, if you could reconnect or just go back however many years, whatever, just to an era that that would just take you into like the good vibes. Or we were ripe. Like I remember thinking about that time, like 20, the world was like ahead of us. Like we had everything. It's funny because I'm still like, I feel like I still got like 20 more something years to go to prove myself. You know what I mean? So I still feel super fresh. But it's funny, then it was way different. Now I have married kids, you know, all that. So it's just different. It's exciting, but it's way different kind of excitement. Now I feel like it's like split between my family and myself. And then as they get older, I feel like that excitement is going to keep shifting to them. Like I want them to live their full lives, and now I'm going to be fully 1,000% invested in whatever they want to do. Where right now you're still kind of like, oh, we can still balance this out. I can still hit this goal in my life. Not to say you would ever give up, but you know what I mean. It's hard because you're balancing a bunch of stuff. I think when we say go back to basics, like if you're an adult, just do this. Go on YouTube or whatever and just put music and then just put it whatever decade you were born. So if you were born in the 70s, 60s, 50s, 80s, 90s, whatever, put in that decade, and I'm telling you, it just throws you back. Like there's this dude we follow on Instagram. It says we run the 80s or rerun the 80s, something like that. And he posts everything, like all the toys and gadgets that were out back in the 80s, and even movies and just commercials.
Happy Meal toys.
Happy Meal toys. Back with
toys.
commercials, playing old school, commercials that were back in the day, and it was just like malls. Like malls are not even a thing anymore. But it was, it takes you back to that young, fresh energy when you had it, and you really like the world is yours type of thing. And I feel like we need to remind ourselves that it's still there for the taking. There's no, there was no end date. It was funny. I was talking to somebody the other day about traveling to Florida with my parents and my brothers, obviously, and my mom in the passenger seat with a huge map, and they had highlighter all the way through the road.
Map as big as the windshield.
Yo. And I'm like, somehow we got there. Yeah. And it was funny. And then I was talking about how we lost lizards in the car driving back home because we brought lizards back. And then we were talking about stopping at south of the border. This is us going to Florida anyway and coming back, whatever. And I kept bringing up those memories. And I'm like, it's not to sound cliche or anything, but I was literally talking about the journey. The way there. I wasn't even talking about Florida, the state, and us the vacation. It was like, I wasn't even talking about the destination. I was talking about the journey the whole time. And it just made me reflect. Because someone, last week I was at a retirement party, and they were just saying things like that. It's like, it really is the journey. Like, now that I'm here, it's like, now what? You know what I'm saying? Like, he has plans, but still, it was just a cool thing to think about. So, it doesn't matter like what you've done or been through and that has stopped you or slowed you down. I just want to challenge everyone to rethink those goals. And if you think that they're totally washed up and it's not really interest you, come up with something fresh, come up with something new, something exciting that's going to motivate you and I guess like reinvigorate that vision, that childlike vision, because I really do think that we're at a clean slate. There's going to be a massive transfer of wealth. You could just feel it in the air with all this NFT crypto thing going on. It's just, there's definitely a shift happening. You could just sense it. Invest in commodities. But anyway, so with that being said, appreciate your progress. A lot of times we're just mad at where we are. Like even right now, we could all be sitting here, achieved a bunch of stuff. There's still an area in our lives that we didn't max out in, and we're just like, dang, man, I could have sworn by this year I was going to be there. You know what I mean? I say, challenge you again, give it another year. Don't give up on it. You know what I mean? Me and my wife were talking about, we had a conversation about the age we got married or the age she got engaged. She's like, when I was a little kid, I thought it was going to be a specific number, and it was a totally different number. And it's just funny that it doesn't necessarily even matter. I don't know. We got upset. When you're younger, you get obsessed. That was like when I was young, I thought someone in their 20s and 30s was old as heck. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I thought they were old man. You know what I mean? And then we like look back on like our uncles or whatever who had like cool cars. And I'm like looking at theirs like, dude, they were like in their late 20s. They weren't even that old. Early 30s. So it's kind of crazy. But it's just getting back on the grind. Again, appreciate your progress. Here's the number one thing. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. We're not necessarily at where you may want to be, but I'm telling you, if you forgive yourself, The reason why that's important is because you can launch from this moment forward way faster than if you're just holding on to that old baggage, and just a heavy weight of just misery and failure and whatever the heck it is that's holding you down. Let that go. Forgive yourself. Start fresh. It's better than, being sad and miserable, right? I mean,
Sure.
if you actually think about it, there's no better time to start now. You got 5-6 months till summer to enjoy. Stack up, do whatever you got to do. Go back into the gym, whatever. It doesn't matter. If that's what excites you, do it. Anyway, I guess one of the biggest things I want to ask, which we always do every year, is sort of ask like one thing you want to achieve this year in 2023. So goal setting's a big thing, right? You really can't, measure progress really if you even know where you're going. So what they say is like if you don't know the map, if you don't have a map or directions on how to get to the place you're trying to get, any road is the right road, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a scary thought. You can be going down, you can be shifting down the wrong road, and you don't know because you didn't really set the tone or set the goal. I think for me personally, so when it comes to, when we want to talk about mentally, physically, financially, relationally, and spiritually, I want to get into the habit. Like we started our little challenge.
Yeah.
And I was listening to something today talking about meditation. And we've always talked about like, man, we want to get into that routine of meditating again. And although I feel like I pray endlessly throughout the day, legitimately, I feel like I'm just praying all day. I want to get into very concentrated, deep prayer / meditation on a regular basis and like on a daily basis, and have that routine in the morning added to everything else that I'm doing. So whether it's getting up a half hour early or whatever it is, to whatever I already am doing, is a deep meditation. I think that between deep meditation, and I don't know if I have to put a number on it, but helping other people achieve their dreams or goals. It doesn't have to be, like life altering by any means, but help them get the next job that they wanted, or whatever, fitness goal, financial goal, whatever it is.
Like coaching or?
Sort of, but not in an exchange, like in a brotherly way.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like not like for hire. Just me like helping you trying to do it. Like just
like
talk.
A hype man.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But very like emphatically too. Mm-hmm. Like super genuinely excited, not in a cheeseball way. Yeah. And then man, I think one of the biggest things is working on myself mentally, because I think this happens to a lot of people. You could be your own, your biggest critic, your own worst enemy, whatever. But just, I think, clearing the mental blocks that I create myself, and allowing myself to navigate through life, learning along the way. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. I'm going to learn, but be more open to constructive criticism instead of, being offended by something or whatever. And I'm talking about not offended by stuff I see or whatever. I'm talking about like direct feedback to me. And I started that last year. And I got to tell you, it's a lot easier to operate, especially in a professional life, to have the ability to accept that and know who to accept it from. Some people just talk and you're just like, okay.
But you can't.
But actually growing from those experiences.
Yeah, and you can't like have somebody like say something moderately critical and you fly off the handle or something.
Yeah. I'm not talking about like allowing people to disrespect me. I'm not saying that. I'm saying but in a real learning experience, like that dude's really trying to coach me, and me legitimately taking the advice. Yeah. Where from a more experienced person, I'm in a couple of mentorship programs. I'm now in a sponsorship program, and I've taken full advantage of every single one, or I've taken advantage of every single one. I don't know if I took full advantage of every single one, if that makes sense. So I just want to like crank that up a notch, and then honestly, like just improve my relationships with everyone that's close to me. Like just take it up another notch, even if it's another, an inch above of what I was, whatever. That's with my wife, with my sons, my brothers, my mom, my boys, whatever. Just every relation, even being a better neighbor, like everything, like even like we talked about this the other day, like somebody just drives by you, like that dude never waves to me. And, at one point, it used to drive me crazy. You fast forward now, I'm waving with a smile, and that dude just heads down. I see him every morning. He's walking his dog in his water boots, and it drives me crazy. It used to drive me crazy. And now I just wave. Now I wave like emphatically and just keep driving. Like, you can't let people steal your joy.
Sure.
I didn't even talk to the guy, and I had let him affect half my day in the past.
And that's nothing to not be offended by somebody like.
Somebody not saying nothing to you.
Yo, what's funny? Like, if I'm in heaven and God's replaying some of these moments, like, yo, he didn't even see you wave. You know what I'm saying? And I got offended for half a day. My man. Or he did a quick nod and I didn't even see it.
You had a whole argument with yourself.
He just chose to ignore me.
Yeah, and I think just making better decisions in all those areas too. And just taking care of myself a lot better. I think that's like the most important thing. And going old school with it, digging. I can't really, because I really do touch base with personal development on a daily basis. But going even deeper with the old school, reading a book.
Sure.
Anyway, so there's a few things. I'm sure there's more.
Yeah. So for me, I kind of feel like I blame the whole pandemic for mentally, physically, like emotionally, a lot of the bull crap. And I allowed myself to get there and do that. Like this year, I'm just trying to break out of a stupid habit and get there and be a better person. I know they say, oh, it's a better me or whatever the case may be. But like, I noticed it, and like, I felt like for the past year, I feel like I've been a drag.
Yeah.
Like I haven't really been myself, or I haven't been doing like the typical things that I would typically do. Like I feel like I'm just like. In my own mind, I call myself, you're a lazy piece of crap. Like, really, like, you need to get yourself together. Like, it's time to end it all, like, the dumb crap, and get back to how you used to be, and stop blaming some bullcrap pandemic that everyone wants to blame. It's you. I let myself go, and I can't get mad at anyone else but myself. I have to build better relationships with my family, my friends, and just stay up to par with everyone, and not fall back and blame other people or other things for me not being there or me not doing something or whatever for my kids or whatever. It's me. I have to bring myself to it and get myself back to that point where before the whole pandemic, I was all over the place, just hanging out and having a good time with the kids and just a whole different person. So I think I'm just trying to focus on myself and I can't wait to see what comes, because I have I kind of have like a vision of what's to come, and it looks pretty cool.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, for me it was like like we talked about earlier when we did that challenge back in November, right?
Yeah. November is a month away.
Already.
I know, that is
2
crazy.
months away already.
So anyway, it was like with the whole like reading and like just reading more like useful like reads. You know what I mean? Like, so you can read a magazine and that's your daily read.
Useful
but, like,
information,
yeah. Yeah, useful information, useful like things. So it's like, so yeah, more like the personal development books or stuff like that. That's like, that'll help. Obviously, what was it, like almost 10 years ago, we were in other programs that we were forced to do it. And I would start, sometimes I would never finish a book or whatever. Sure. But like, that was like one of my disappointing things when we did the challenge. Like, I didn't like, read. I didn't have the time. Like, not that I didn't have the time. I just kind of made myself like feel like I was too busy to even just to read. So yeah, that's for this year. It's one of my goals is to read more. And then same thing with my physical health. Like, I haven't been to the gym in over a year, and normally that's not normal for me. Like, since from 20 to like my mid 30s, I've always went to the gym. I mean, you fall off for like a few weeks here or there, a month, but I always went back to it. Like, now I'm in my 40s. Now this is a crucial time for me to be like healthy, and then so I'm gonna try to get on the health kick again. Like, not overdo it, but just like keep, just to maintain like decent health and and those are the two main things for me right now. Those are like my set goals, like physical like health, and then mental, reading the books and stuff.
Yeah, I think we're gonna like just for the heck of it in February, like start in February, do another challenge. Like it don't have to tracked on here or whatever.
Sure.
We're just like sort of like track it ourselves. And if you want to join us,
Oh, I'm definitely in.
yeah, obviously February has 28 days, but the challenge I wanted to do was 33 days. And it focuses it focuses on all the topics that I'm talking about: mentally, physically, financially, relationally, spiritually, whatever it is. Yeah, we'll do that. But anyway, I'll let Ange talk and then we can get into some things too.
So one of my biggest goals this year is the year of no procrastination.
Yes, sir.
None at all. Like,
Yes, sir.
and it don't matter what it is. Even if it's something as little as, doing a full load of laundry, taking out the dryer makes you fold it, because that's what builds the habits.
Yes.
It's not what it is. That's so surface level. It gets
Yeah.
so much deeper than that.
Does.
Like you were talking about, like the motivation dying out.
Yeah.
For me, motivation dies out all the time. What replaces that is my discipline.
Yes.
Something I do on an everyday basis consistently. Like I wake up for the gym at 5 a.m. every morning.
Yeah.
I don't care if I get up, go to the gym, and just walk around and do a light workout. I was
Right.
still there.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's still a habit for me to get up and do it. Like,
Feelings aside.
yeah, feelings aside. Like stop procrastinating. If I say I'm going to do something, do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Have a guideline set out. If I don't reach it by that timeline, make sure I reach it within a reasonable time.
Absolutely.
Within that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just, for
Yeah.
me, that's one of my biggest goals. Like I have my goals written down. Like a house is one of, like I'll own a house by the end of this year.
I love it. Let's
You
go.
know what I mean? Like, and other things like Italy. I'll be in Italy. But then there's minor goals that split off of that. Like I go get a passport so I can go to Italy. Like
Right.
things I can achieve along the way. It's not that instant gratification or conquering that whole thing at once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just the little things. You know what I mean? The little steps that to take you into the leaps. You know
Love
what I mean?
that. Yeah, I think to that point and to the point of us having the challenge and Andrew being here is surrounding ourselves with the right people. It's your environment that plays a large part into a lot of this stuff. And if we keep surrounding ourselves with, I think a lot of the times me maintaining my sanity was the podcast.
Yeah.
Honestly, because it regulated everything. It's like brought me back to the norm. Everyone else is going through some things themselves. You know what I mean? And you're like, dang, I'm not going through this by myself. But it's sort of like keeping yourself in good company, and it's like that motivation. When we did, I feel like that was one of the easiest challenges I've ever done in my entire life. Seriously, and not for. And I didn't have like radical results, but everyone stuck with it from beginning to end. It wasn't nothing overwhelming. It was extremely basic. You guys, so there's like 5-6 episodes on it, on our results and everything like that. But it was the easiest because my boys and my brothers were doing it with me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like we're keeping each other accountable for it. And yeah, all of us could have done better.
Iron
But it was
sharpens
like,
iron.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like I had like this like weird. Not weird, but it was like this small little thing of pride, like that we all sort of went through, and it reminded me of like my college years. It was like me and my boys would go that time period in my life. It's like there's like a song out here, some country song that says, "You'll never be 23 with anyone else." Like you will forever. You would have that time is captured just with me, like just us two, right? And it was like that's a fascinating thing. Could be creepy if you're thinking of another way, but I'm saying like if you capture that. It's like, it's true. When I look back at my childhood, it could never be with anyone else but my two brothers. When I look back at my college years, it could be without anyone else but the people I went to Temple with. And I mean, obviously, and the same thing just keeps, and those years are locked in. I could never go back to that. Even if I could try to relive it, it's not the same. And so like, it was one of those moments. It was like our first challenge was, like, we're going to look back on that, laugh, and like, that was the softest challenge ever. But that's how it started. Yeah. And if we didn't start, mild or soft or whatever, maybe that wouldn't motivate. Like, everyone's open right now to do another challenge. Why? Yeah, because we didn't kill ourselves on the first one. You know what I mean? Some people go so hardcore and want to turn into Sparta in, 15 days. And like, you lost all that motivation, just go whoop, it goes right out the window because you put mad energy up front. You blew a gasket.
But I think even what seemed like the biggest result of that was that it wasn't like any kind of physical change or anything, but it was like the eye-opening results of it. We all realized what we lacked and what we need to do. And we all have motivation to now fix those things that we were severely lacking, and during that few weeks period that we were doing it. So
so you're gonna hear it here in February. We're gonna include Ange, part of the squad, for our next challenge. and more to come. That'll be a 33-day one. Sort of, it's built a little bit different than what we did, but it's going to have the same elements. But I think just improving ourselves is probably, and then surrounding yourself with people who also want to do the same thing is so motivating. And like, even like your goals, like when we tell each other that, it's like, let's keep each other on that path to achieving all this. Yeah, and I think another thing is limiting your focus. So when we're setting goals and we're going out, again, now this is like, we're in mid-January right now. By the time this release, it'd be like the third week of January. But truly try to focus in on one or two things. Like Ange gave very specific things. That's really what you want to do. And like for me, for my physical health, I have an exact number I want to hit by the end of May, beginning of June. So I know exactly where I'm going with that, but I got to do the same thing with other elements of what we have going on here. But I think a lot of that will get fired back up once the challenge kicks in. But I'm already doing some of the stuff, and that's the other thing. Like if someone says, "Yo, let's start a challenge in February or whatever," and it's mid-January. There's nothing to stop you within these first 2 weeks to start doing a little warm-up, pick up a couple dumbbells, do a couple push-ups. Yeah. No one's stopping you. At least you'll go in motion, with a little bit of momentum. And then the other thing is like that accountability. So you think about how simple a challenge is, but it also holds that accountability. We're sort of all holding each other accountable. Nothing crazy. No one's threatening anybody. You're just shooting a text, "Yo, how's it going? What do you need help with?" Whatever. It's very basic. But I do think, like for that month, I took a bunch of notes, and one thing that we all got to decide on is the book that we're going to read. And I think if you focus on a book, because the other thing was it's very loose end, and we're like, "Oh, just read whatever, read something." Yeah, I think, sure. And everyone's like, "Yeah, I read that for like 2 minutes. I remember." You know what I mean?
PC magazine.
Yeah. And so the whole thing is like reading it, talking about it, whatever. But if we all read the same book, we got 2 weeks. Amazon ships things over tonight. But if we got a nice little tiny, thin, real small book that we can all just run through in 1 month, again, we'll always have that. Like, yo, that was a year we read that same book all together, all at the same time, tapped into all those old gym memberships or whatever the heck you got going on. Start buying your running shoes, your running shirts, or whatever you got to do. Messing up all your old or your brand new clothes you just got for Christmas. But it's a prep time, right? So the point was to limit your focus. Focus on one thing, like financial goal. Pick something. And then like by the end of the year, right? Let's just say I want to save $10,000 by the end of the year. $5,000, $2,000, $1,000. I want to save $100, whatever. Then to Ange's point, break it down by month, break it down by week, whatever is easier for you that's digestible and sort of doable at the same time. And then commitment and accountability. Like I said, accountability is great with the group, but commit to it. Just go all out. Dude, I was reading something on Instagram. I think it was Instagram. They said, what would you do if you seriously, in those 5 categories, mentally, physically, financially, relationally, spiritually, if you seriously went all out for this in 2023, like, and we had this conversation the following year, dead serious, like, how many episodes we do in a year? Anywhere between 40 and 50?
Yeah, like probably 45-ish.
Yeah. Okay, so to be, I don't know, top of 300s. So if we're here at episode 370,
yeah, right? Around that, yeah.
If we're here at 370 next year, and we're all talking about, yo, we did that, blah, 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 and this dude looks like a fucking moose or whatever. Like, damn, you really did it. Ange got a house. Ange went to Italy, right? We have a plan, like a family trip to go to visit our friend in North Carolina, like, and we've been trying to do that for like 3 years. But this is the year that we're going to do it. Like, it's going to happen. We're doing it. Like, we're going to rent the van to drive down there. Let's just do it now and stop with the excuses and just go, bro. Like,
But I like how you say we're gonna do it, not we're
Yes.
planning to do it. Like it already happened in your
It's
head.
already happened in my
That's what's
head.
gonna make it happen.
The
You know what I mean?
planning already happened.
Yeah,
now
like-
it's going to
yeah.
happen.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
We've been planning for 3 years.
Yeah,
It's
on
gonna
that
happen.
episode next year, you'll be talking about we went to Carolina.
Yeah.
Like,
1000%.
Like
So-
so in 2021, I was planning to get my truck. 2022 came along. I was like, I got my truck. Like I made it
Because
happen.
in 2021, you already had.
I already
in your
had
mind,
that
you had it
mindset. I was
already.
like, I'm doing this X, Y, and Z because I want to get this sometime next year. Sometime, and well, obviously this is last year now, but it happened a lot sooner than I expected. I didn't expect it to get it in January of 21. I expected to get it like maybe in the spring of 21. I'm sorry, 22. Sorry, but it was just the prep and get myself ready, getting there. So I mean, if you stay on top of it and you have that mindset that this is what you want to do, and then once you're done with this is what you want to do, I'm getting this or I'm doing this and I'm gonna, and then it happens, and that's it. That's how it ends up falling down.
Yeah.
Just gotta stay focused on it.
Speaking it into existence. But yeah, to that point, it was like there's so much like, yo, man, I can't wait. Like one day I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. It breaks down to Ange, like your point earlier about the discipline. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And I say this all the time. I don't care if it's how you get up in the morning and brush your teeth. You know what I mean? And get that sleep off your face. Whatever you got to do, wake up and go and do it, right? Stop putting things off when you're like, oh man, just 5 more minutes. Or, you know, I heard one time, like,
Snooze
if
button.
you need an alarm clock, only set a single alarm clock. When you hit, I'm gonna wake up at 4:45, then 5:15, then 5:30, but you already set yourself up for failure. Because you gave yourself 3 more chances to get up. Just set that one alarm clock. That's the time you're gonna get up. That's the end of the discussion, right? And challenge yourself. I never forget when I heard this one dude when I was like hitting the health wave like heavy, and this dude said, "Drink black coffee. Stop being a punk. You don't need that milk." And I'm like, "Yo, but it tastes so good with milk. It's soft." I was like, "It tastes so good with the milk, though." Bro, and I remember it took me, like, I got out of my head, and now all I drink is black coffee. I'm not saying that created a miracle in my health, but I'm saying it's those little things you got to overcome. Because if I can overcome like little stuff like that and getting back into the blueberry teas of the world, like getting back into those healthy habits. And right now I already got stacked up. Like I already got all my vitamins, my multivitamins, my fish oils are all lined up. I'm showing Cade, like I'm taking them I'm like, you know, the little gummy bear vitamin you take, some of that's in there. Like, I'm explaining it to him because I want them to see the healthy habits. I walk around the house with a Bible in my hands. I want them to see those habits. They walk into my office, they see a bunch of books. Like, I want them to see that as well. But yeah, how you do one thing. Oh, even like this year, we already started good. James has signed up for baseball, everyone, just so you know, because every year we do this, we sign him up like 2 months. Like, dang, now we're just scattering, running around. He's just going on this team, I guess. But luckily for him, he was good enough that we could just get him where we need to get him because there was an open position, but then he would make some like all-star thing or whatever. But this year, we're like, no, we're setting it. We're not going to be panicking no more. It's that setting the tone. We set the tone. You know what I mean? And listen, it's not going to go perfect, right? In 2023, I want everyone listening to this, everyone here, whatever you're doing, throw this away. You guys, everyone has to promise me you're going to throw it away. Throw perfection away. Throw that away. Don't look at it. Don't ever come back to it. You can stare at it one time like that's perfection, that's fantastic, but it's not going to happen that way. And that's cool, and it's great to, quote, strive for it. But what the problem with perfection is it's unattainable for 99% of things, right? And we become obsessed with that for whatever reason, and whatever's in the human mind. I'm sure there's some, biological reason why we do this. But the striving for that is just strive to be the best version of yourself. That might be perfection because you're that good. You might be the Kobe of, free throws or whatever. You might be that. But what I'm saying is that then becomes the excuse because once you mess up, it's over. It's a wrap. And you get to use that, as Heck was saying, as an excuse. And I think another good thing is to do when we're talking about becoming, the best versions of ourselves is practicing mindfulness. how do you practice mindfulness? At the end of the year, and you displayed this very well. Volunteer. Do something for the community that is not necessarily going to pay you money for it, which is one of my goals, which is what I was saying, is like helping someone else achieve their goals without like collecting anything.
No ulterior motive.
Yeah, it's like, no,
Altruistic.
like I want to genuinely help 5 people achieve a single goal, even if it's something as little as dropping 5 pounds or making $500 in the stock market. Whatever it is, I'm like hell bent on doing it, because you're just being mindful, because once you do that, you start realizing everyone has similar problems, probably different scales, but it's similar. Like what the problem is similar, because we're all humans, right? So if someone cuts my finger, I'm going to bleed blood just like everyone else in this room. You see what I'm saying? Some people's, the scale of it is way drastic than others, but being mindful and having the ability to read the room, right? Just having an awareness and just throwing the ego out. I don't know. Humbition is what one of my mentors calls it, being humble and ambitious. So I forget there's a word for that when you combine two things. I don't know. He's way smarter than I am, but he says it all the time. I just remember humbition, and it's having the ability to max out on all your goals, crush it at home, crush it at work, or crush it out your career, your job, your business, whatever, but still just being a humble soul. And just like, yeah, you know what it is? Because I feel like when you're not, God's going to humble you anyway. You might as well just meet him there. You might as well just be humble, right? Because you're going to get humbled if you're not. So you might as well just keep it at that level, low key. It's good to like, I won't say show off, but it's good to, be proud of your achievements and show off to your friends. Absolutely. I want the inner group to show off to me anyway, because I'm going to be just excited for you. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be just as pumped for you because I know where we all came from. Anyway, I know we're talking about goals for ourselves, but I may or may not have said this last year, but I'm going to say it this year. Throw perfection away, right? Forgive yourself, love yourself, and help someone else achieve one of their goals. If everyone just helped another individual, just one, pick a single person. Now you could try to max out here, whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4. So my goal is to help one goal of each 4 of you guys in here today, starting today to the end of December. And you don't even have to tell me what it is, but if it's like you play the guitar and you're going to your first open mic, I'm going to be in that crowd clapping for you. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be nothing major. So help one other person achieve their goal, and I think we're going to go crazy. We're going to go crazy in 2023. You know what? And you talked about procrastination. I want to talk about one final question for all you guys, because everyone here, if we're all honest with ourselves, gave up on a goal, right? At one point of our lives, right? Somebody right now could be crushing it for the last 5 years. But at one point, maybe 5 years ago, you gave up on a goal. What is one tip you can give? Let's just say it's like the teenager you, and you're wanting to give up on something. What's one piece of advice that you can give? Yeah.
Sometimes to achieve your goal, you can't be afraid to ask for help. And a lot of times that's where people fall down. They're afraid to ask for that help and be like, I look like an idiot because this is my goal and I'm asking Ange over here for assistance. Like, you look like a fool, but don't be afraid to do it. Ask for it.
It's even trying to keep up with the Joneses. Like, your goal is probably small and he's trying to get a house or something like that. I'm like, damn, I'm underestimating it's still a goal. Like, don't be embarrassed of like how big or small it is.
Yeah.
And always like break it down, because like even if you have like a semi-biggish goal, like it's good to like stop and like realize the little things you do along the way.
Yeah.
And definitely don't give up when you fail. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think it was Thomas Edison. 1,000 inventions all failed. 1,001 was the light bulb.
Yeah.
Like,
Ding.
yeah, you know what I mean? Keep trying for what you're going for. It might be a different avenue, but
It'll come together.
you know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. All right. Perfect. All right, so there you have it. the year of great prosperity, and that's the reason why it's going to be year of great prosperity. So if we're reading in between the lines, when we're talking about prosperity, we're not talking about just financially. Again, mentally, physically, financially, relationally, and spiritually. We like to finish things up with quotes, and the first one by Norman Vincent Peale. Believe in yourself. Have faith in your abilities. Without a humble but reasonable confidence in your own powers, you cannot be successful or happy. And the second one by George Herbert. Do not wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand and work with whatever tools you have at your command, and better tools will be found as you go along. That's the hardest one yet. The year of great prosperity. In this episode, the crew covers topics that range from goals of 2023, maintaining focus, making adjustments, future predictions, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from George Herbert and Norman Vincent Peale. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.